And we're live.
We are.
We are.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, Ian.
Oh, hey, Thomas, Jem, you all right?
Good.
Very. Oh, do you know what? I should have brought them down with me. They're on my desk in my office. Was clearing out some of the stores the other day. I've got the actual. I'll tell you, I've got the photos on my phone. I sent them to you, Ian.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
So for Claret Bay Holiday Village owners, especially those who've been with us for a while, let's see if I can hold these up to the screen.
But if you send it to me as an
okay.
email,
Yeah. Let's do that then. Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what. I'll send you the proper images now. Where do you want me to email them to?
To my normal one.
To. It's not coming up.
Are you doing it by email or message?
Email. Yeah.
Do you know how to work them things? Honestly, get a kid. You need to try and find a child to show you how to do it.
That one.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's the one. Send it me there. We'll get them up.
Huh? Does he know what he's doing with that phone?
I've no idea.
I haven't got my glasses on either.
I couldn't do something the other day, and he said to me, you need to find a kid to show you how to do it.
That's right. Anyway, we'll get those photos up in a little while, but I thought I'd just come on. It's becoming a bit of a regular thing now, coming and giving an update every weekend or sooner if there's something important that's happened. And we had an emergency update this week because of what happened in North Wales. They put 4 of the North Wales counties into lockdown, which is basically all of the North Wales counties apart from 2, Gwynedd and Anglesey. So at the moment we've got, I think there's only 6 counties in Wales that are not in lockdown out of the 22.
Wow.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they'll one of the other 6 or 2 of the other 6 will be going into lockdown. But let's keep our fingers crossed it doesn't. Let's keep our fingers crossed that everything will sort of take a turn for the better. But we are where we are, and I thought I'd just come on and say hello to everybody and to answer any questions that you may have. Because this thing is changing pretty much all the time, isn't it, boys?
It certainly is. Certainly is.
So yeah, I mean, I really feel. I'll tell you what I've been thinking about lately. It's not a very flattering view. We've got of a. I thought that was another part of your body then when he was leaning forward, did you?
No,
it was his arm.
The dog wanted to go out.
Oh, right, okay. So I tell you what I'm thinking at the moment. So if you look at, say, people in Caerphilly, they were the first county, or Caerphilly county borough were the first one to go into lockdown in Wales, a localised lockdown. And they've been in lockdown now, I think, it's got to be for more than 4 weeks. I mean, it was soon followed by Merthyr, Blaenau Gwent, Bridgend, Rhondda and Taff. Pretty much all of the counties in South Wales are in lockdown, apart from Monmouthshire, which is right on the east bordering sort of England. Now, what I find difficult to sort of comprehend at the moment is there are areas in England where the rate of the infection is higher than some of the areas that are locked down in Wales. So if you're in one of these areas that are locked down in Wales, you are legally prevented from leaving that area unless you've got a good reason, and a good reason is not visiting your caravan. So if you own a caravan and you're from Caerphilly, for example, you're from Rhondda and Taff, you can't go to your caravan. But in England, there are places where the rate of infection is higher and there aren't any restrictions on those individuals coming to visit their caravans. So I can understand people's frustration. It really must be frustrating if you're sat at home going, well, why can they go and visit the caravan and the rate of infection is higher, but I can't? And I can't give you that answer, unfortunately. It sort of, yeah, it doesn't make sense at all. And I think one of the things I've always said from sort of the beginning of this back in March is we need the 4 governments to work together on this.
Too right.
You know, there needs to be some joined up thinking on this, because I can't understand. So, I mean, look, here's an example. So if you live in an area in England and the rate of infection is high, what would you do? You'd probably go to somewhere in Wales where the rate of infection's low or lower.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all all know which way that's going to end.
Yep.
So I'm not. And by the way, I'm not saying we should put the country into lockdown. I'm completely and utterly against that. But what I am saying is there should be fair play across the whole board. There should be a level playing surface. And the other thing as well, of course, is if you live in England and you cross the border into Wales, and I've said this before, you're under the jurisdiction of the Welsh government. Equally, if you live in England and you go to Scotland, if you live in Wales, and I live in an area, so does Jem, where we're not in lockdown. So when we cross the border into England, if we choose to do that, then we're under the jurisdiction of the UK government. So it's very, very, very confusing, and we don't know when things are going to change. They tend to review it every 2 weeks in Wales, and like I say, Caerphilly is a good example to look at because they've extended the next review. They've extended the lockdown by another 7 days, so we'll look at it again in 7 days. But I can't see much happening in October, if I'm honest.
I was speaking in the week, Thomas, to the man that comes from G4S, comes to collect the money, and I said to him, what's the roads like? What you're busy? And he said, yeah. He lives in Llanelli.
Yeah, which is in lockdown.
Which is in lockdown. Yet he can travel because of his job. Yeah. And I said to him, what have you noticed? I said, what's it like? I said, now living in a lockdown. He said, well, there's no difference really. He said, the only difference is you can't mix with other people. He said, you can't have people in your garden. He said, but the pubs are still open. He said, so you can still go to the pub and you can still do whatever you want to do, provided you don't have people in your garden. So I don't see, when they do like a local lockdown, I don't see, if they're still allowing the pubs open for everybody to go to the pub, I can't see. And then allowing people to travel because of work or compassionate grounds, it just seems a bit silly, really.
Yeah, I mean, there's more reasons why you can go out of a lockdown area than why you can't go out of a lockdown area. It's just unfortunate, but one of the reasons you can't go out of a lockdown area is visiting your caravan. What I struggle with is if you live in a lockdown area and you are going to travel from your house in that lockdown area to your caravan and you stay in your caravan, then I personally can't see the harm in that. Now, people are going to say, well, what if they leave the caravan and they go into the local town? Well, what if they break the rules in their local lockdown area and go somewhere they shouldn't? That's what we're up against. So it just doesn't make sense to me at all. It really doesn't. You look, we're either in lockdown or we're not. There's no half. It shouldn't be sort of like a halfway house, sort of like purgatory, isn't it? It's
we've just had a comment come through. So it's actually quite simple in a way. Good evening, Jem, Thomas and Ian. Could you all send your best wishes to Courtney Greenwood's mom, Yvonne, who was taken into hospital in Liverpool a few days ago with COVID. She's in intensive care in an induced coma.
Oh, bless.
Oh, that's terrible.
Good luck, Yvonne.
Yeah, I'm sending you all of our best wishes with that. I mean, and that there is an example of how serious this thing is and why there's got to be joined up thinking. That's why they've got to get a grip on this and get a handle on it and do something that we all know. If you get I don't know, go and grab 5 people off the street who live in the same area and ask them what the rules are for their area. They'll all give you different versions and different interpretations. Then ask them what the rules are in a different area.
Ask them what the rules are.
Oh, who's that?
It's just put his chat on.
Because my phone's come on, but I thought I turned it down, but I haven't.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the moment, it's like in England, there are no restrictions on people travelling. They can travel wherever they want to. But there are restrictions in...
Now, that's an interesting one. I don't understand this one. We live in lockdown area in Wrexham.
Yeah.
We can't travel to Snowdon, as example, but people from Liverpool can.
That's exactly what I've just been saying.
But I thought Liverpool were on lockdown.
No, they're not. This is exactly that point now is an exact point of what I've been saying. So they live in Wrexham, so the county of Wrexham is in lockdown.
Yeah.
We can't travel to Snowdon. Now Snowdon is in Gwynedd, which Snowdon is a county that isn't in lockdown. It's one of the few counties in Wales that isn't in lockdown. But by the virtue of the fact that that person lives in Wrexham, she cannot leave the county lines of Wrexham unless she has a good enough reason. But Liverpool, where we know the infection is increasing at a rate of knots, the people of Liverpool, if they want a day trip to Snowdon, there's nothing stopping them from doing that at all. And so I know I know that that the First Minister has been on the phone to Boris and said, look, can we close the borders? And I think my interpretation or my impression is, if you start shutting borders, then it could cause sort of all sorts of constitutional issues and sort of open up another can of worms, shall we say? But what I think needs to happen is they need to have a UK-wide approach whereby they say, well, look, if a certain area, regardless of if it's in England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland, if that area, if the R rate reaches X, then it's automatically in a lockdown.
Yeah,
that's what needs, and that lockdown should apply UK-wide. It should apply UK, UK. So you can't leave that lockdown area and cross the border into Wales, for example, because that's an interesting thing as well. We don't know what's going to happen if an area of England does go into lockdown. Let's say, for example, Liverpool was to go into lockdown, and I'm talking about a lockdown in the same sense that Caerphilly's in lockdown at the moment, or one of the other counties in Wales. Does that apply? What happens when they cross the border into Wales? Now, yes, they'd be breaking the law leaving the county when they're in England, but when they cross the border into Wales, then again,
it's not illegal. It's the same thing with the rule of six.
Yeah,
that they can't meet as 6 people in England, but they cross the border and they can. It's not right.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be in a situation where they lock the whole country down again, because I think they've got to. They're very conscious about the economy and the effect it's having. We're in a recession now, and who knows what would happen to the economy if we went into another lockdown. And the other thing as well, I think we've all got to be mindful of is, I know of people who have sadly lost their lives, not directly because of COVID, but because of indirect reasons. COVID is the reason indirectly, so they've not been able to have treatment for cancer, because of the COVID situation. They've not been able to sort of get help with their mental health, and it's taking its toll. So this thing, it's very serious, isn't it? It's very, very serious. So have we got any more questions coming in?
Well, let's have a look.
A few comments. Matthew Davies says, I'm a security company in North Wales. We have to cross all the lockdown borders, visiting business, etc. Traffic's still normal, so he can cross the borders because of his work.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There are people who genuinely need to cross borders because of their work. In the same way, there are people who have a genuine reason for not wearing a face covering when they're indoors. But unfortunately, for every person you meet that's genuine, you meet a handful of people who aren't genuine. And that's the thing. Yeah. And there are no checks and balances you can apply to it unless you're the police. And we all know the police are underfunded, under-resourced, and they haven't got they just haven't got the manpower. What's the
resources?
Resources. Can't say manpower.
Can you not say manpower?
No.
People power.
They haven't got the people power. Yeah.
Susan Francis said that she read today that the Welsh areas in lockdown R rate is coming down, and Drakeford is looking to see how or if the restrictions could be lifted soon.
That would be great. That would be absolutely fantastic.
Nat asks, will there be plans put into place if we can't come down and drain down Nick Thomas?
Again, we haven't got that. I think you asked a question a few days ago. I think what we said was we're just going to see how things pan out now, and let's get into October. I know we are in October. Let's get a few weeks into October until we come towards the end of what we'd call the traditional holiday park season, and then we can sort of cross that bridge. I think one thing we've got to be careful of is crossing bridges before we come to them, if that makes sense. Yeah. We don't want to sort of preempt too far ahead, because as we're all aware, things change like that.
Well, best thing to do is don't leave any cheese in the fridge just in case you can't come back. It stinks, doesn't it, cheese?
Zoe Anderson said, hi, me again. I'm having to self-isolate due to confirmed cases where I work. However, my partner and children can still come to the site. None of this makes any sense.
Yeah. So, I know of a few examples of this, and I can sort of see the logic with this, because let's just read that. Let's read that again, so I'm before I say something, I'm completely clear what's been said.
Okay, so Zoe's having to self-isolate due to confirmed cases where she works.
Yeah.
However, her partner and children can still come to the site.
Yeah, the reason for that would be if her partner and children were told to self-isolate as well, then where does that chain stop? So you look at the outbreak, or the source of the infection is at Zoe's place of work. So then that would put Zoe in sort of risk, if you like. So then she needs to self-isolate. But then let's take her husband. If her husband had to self-isolate, then that would mean then that he'd have to go to his place of work, and then the people in that place, and then you just get this continuous chain. So I think the common sense approach is the way in which they're doing it, whereby you should only, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys, but my understanding is you should only self-isolate if the track, trace and protect contact you to say you need to self-isolate. But in Zoe's situation, my understanding is the people that she lives with only need to self-isolate if they start displaying symptoms. Because otherwise, it's just going to be a continuous chain that goes from this person to that person, and then the whole country would be self-isolating. There'd be no sort of no end to it.
Katie Evans asks, we're owners from Wolverhampton. Are we still allowed to go to the Caravan next weekend?
Yes.
As long as it's not Park Farm.
As long as you're not a Park Farm, yeah. The only, Park Farm is in Denbighshire. Denbighshire is in lockdown. So unless you live in Denbighshire and own a caravan at Park Farm, you can't visit the park.
But I know Katie's one of our customers, but just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Any questions coming through yet?
Oh, can I ask a question?
Go on then.
You know this NHS app?
Yes.
So I downloaded that and I put that on my phone. And you have to put the postcode where you live. And then at the top of the page, it says either like a red area or yellow area or green area, like cases are high in your area. Well, when I've moved around, and it's got like the pulse going out, like the pulse keeps going out, just checking.
Yeah.
But when I go like somewhere else outside my area, that doesn't change. Have I got to change it? Am I supposed to be pressing something?
I wonder if it's working on location services.
Well, I've got that switched on. It's all switched on. But
that's what I'm saying. So regardless of what postcode you're putting in, your phone knows you're in. I won't give out your home address, but it knows you're somewhere in the Midlands.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just I don't think I could be wrong, but again, guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it works based on the location of where your phone is now.
I think
rather than the postcode where you tell it you are.
I think we can say Sedgley because probation services wouldn't be watching this, will they? But I just thought that when you went somewhere else, it would tell you like what area you're in and how like high the cases are for that particular area where you are.
Yeah. Do you know what I will say though? I came across this website way back when, and it's maintained by, I don't know the lad. He's only young. He's an A-level student in Aberystwyth. If you go to Lloyd LLOYD.Cymru. So
is that Cymru? Is that spelled Cymru?
Yeah, Cymru. And then Lloyd, he's got this website, and you go on there, coronavirus stats, and it's updated daily by county, and he slices and dices the information really, really well, and you can see. So, for example, if we go to cases,
I was just going to try and get it on the big screen. What was the address again?
Lloyd.
Oh, Lloyd.
Yeah. .Cymru.
Zoe says it does work. It does monitor where you are, where your phone is. She says.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't get on for some reason.
No. But yeah, have a look at Lloyd.Cymru, and it will tell you. It'll sort of rank each county in Wales, and Ceredigium's constantly been 22 out of 22, which is good. That's where we want to be, and that's where. And I think we got we got to give credit where credit's due, because Claret Bay, as an example, over the course of the summer, and I'm not just talking about Claret Bay Holiday Village, I'm talking about Glenamore, I'm talking about Green Meadow, Ocean View, Beachside, I'm talking about all the caravan parks in this valley. To my knowledge, we've not had any COVID incidents at all yet we've welcomed thousands and thousands of tourists in a short space of time. And, you know, I'm not chucking stones, I'm not throwing stones, and I know about people in glass eyes who shouldn't throw stones, but you contrast that with the students, and, yeah, that's, you know, they've been back a few weeks, and look where we are.
Yeah.
So well done to everybody who's visited, because that was the big concern, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The big concern was the tourists are going to bring the virus with them. They're gonna, but you don't hear that anymore.
No,
you don't hear that.
They've been really good.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing: if the students were tourists and it was, you know, the other way around, and it was tourists going from place to place who was spreading the virus, you'd hear a lot more negativity in the press about it.
Of course you would.
But the students seem to be getting off quite lightly.
Not for long.
No.
Apparently, it is done by Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And monitors where your phone is. That's from Zoe.
Yeah, there you go. I thought it was like the location service on your phone. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah.
So should we show me these pictures?
Yeah.
That you found.
Was that my dad that found them? He's in one of the storage sheds in the park.
So we got. Oh, just going to move them over so we can see as well. It's going to pause a sec. It's there. So we got that one. Look at that.
Saturday Night Live with Aquarius. Join our resident band every Saturday night in the Tom Barker Lounge Bar for a great mixture of fun, music and laughter. This is also your chance to be a star and join us on stage for a good old-fashioned sing-along. The best performers win a prize. The fun starts at 9 till late.
And then smart dress only, please. At the bottom there.
Well, I mean, look, again, that's a sign of the times, isn't it? Because back in the day, we used to have a dress code to enter the club. And I remember it because the one thing that we never used to allow were men wearing vests. Yeah. And I think what sort of opened our eyes to it, a guy come one night and go, I'm with my wife. Does that mean my wife can't come in because she had like a vest top on? I was like, no, she can come in, but you can't. Well, why can't I come in? What, is there something wrong with my vest? My vest is more expensive than my wife's. You know, so I think we changed the policy on that.
Oh, we've got quite a serious question come through. Let me stop that for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Carol Garden asks, Thomas mentioned something a few weeks ago about the use of pull-out beds for sublets not being allowed for next year. Can he clarify the situation, please?
Yeah, so it's actually, Carol's brought up a good point. I'll try. So I was talking to some owners about this last night. One of the main challenges that owners who sublet are facing at the moment and going forward is the people who they're letting their caravan or their chalet to. And I will give you an example. So I was in the club last week, don't know what day it was. I was sat with my wife, we was having a drink, and two young lads walked in, and they looked a bit lost. And Carol called me over to sort of assist them. And anyway, they wanted directions because they were checking in somewhere. And it turns out that they were staying in a privately owned chalet, and they'd booked the chalet on Airbnb. And these two lads were students from Sheffield University, and they were meeting another two lads who were driving from Oxford. They were at university at Oxford, and the four of them were then meeting with two other lads who were their mates who lived locally in Aberystwyth. Okay? So the first thing is we don't allow groups of three or more of sort of like the same sex, you know? We've always, it's a standard thing across pretty much every holiday park. But here's the thing. It was booked through Airbnb. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But I think these lads had told a white lie and said there was only two or three of them. And the owner was great, by the way, when we told the owner about this. But ultimately, we as a company have to hold somebody responsible and accountable for that, and that person has got to be the owner. So if you are taking bookings on your caravan or your chalet, I understand that a lot of the time these bookings are taken at arm's length. In other words, you know, you're taking the booking online, and in most cases you're not meeting the person you're letting it to. That's the difference if you book, say, through the park. We get to sort of visually look at everybody before they go into the caravan. So if it says 3 people on the booking form, we spot 6, we can sort of stop at the point of source, you know. Mm-hmm. So the one thing we need to make clear in that regard is I understand that there are owners who need to sort of try and make up some of the income to sort out towards the cost of keeping the caravan or the chalet, but you've got to take responsibility for the people you're letting the caravan and the chalet out to. Now, going specifically to Cal's point, I think one thing we are seriously considering next year is putting a maximum occupancy on the units for sublets in line with our units, because it's something I've mentioned before, and we've not made a final decision on this. And before we make a final decision, we will talk about it as a family, and we will sort of look at the reasons for, look at the reasons against, and sort of try and make a decision that's fair for everybody. But one of the issues at the moment, and we've experienced this on several occasions this season, is if you've got a 3-bedroom caravan and you allow 8 guests in there, there are a number of occasions when those 8 guests have been 9, have been 10. Okay? Now, let's take COVID out of the situation. Let's completely remove COVID from the situation. Let's pretend things were normal. If you've accepted a booking for 8 people in your caravan and they sneak an extra person in, or maybe an extra 2 persons in, and God forbid something was to happen, a health and safety issue was to happen, and it didn't go the right way, you are held completely and utterly responsible for that, because you have allowed more people in the caravan than what it's designed for.
It's also as well, if you're sneaking people in.
Yeah.
We of course have in the office forms how many people are staying in each sublet, etc.
So
if anything was happening, we wouldn't know who was on site.
Yeah. Now the other thing as well, as a general rule of thumb, and I hate generalising, but I suppose you have to sometimes to try and sort of give a general view, is the more persons that are in a caravan or chalet, usually the more or the increased likelihood of there being some sort of issue. So with our accommodation, we only allow 6 persons in a 3-bedroom and 4 persons in a 2-bedroom, and it's something we are looking at doing for next season if you are subletting your caravan out. If of course you are on park and it's you've got your family coming down and you don't exceed the capacity of which the caravan is designed for, then that's fine, because you're there, you're taking responsibility for that. If there's a problem, we can come and knock the door. But if you're subletting it, I think we've got to make sure that we're being responsible as the owners of the park, and that we're doing right by the other guests on the park who all want to sort of use and share.
Okay, Susan Francis says, confusing. Our chalet is 6 berth, but 2 bedrooms. Therefore, a pull-out bed has to go in the living area. We're not exceeding maximum capacity, 6 berth on our contract.
No, nobody's saying no. Okay, yeah. So, our chalet.
So I think she's basically saying that it says on her contract that it's 6 berths, so she would never think of putting more people into that because it's.
Yeah, our chalet.
Doesn't go on a pull-out bed, which is.
Yeah, I mean, again, as a general rule of thumb, a 2-bedroom accommodation should only sleep for 4 people, and a 3-bedroom 6.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're looking at.
So I've just realised what Jackie Roberts' comment is. Yeah, issues with sound bites. I think she means sound bars. She had someone stay in her chalet not so long ago.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, I dealt with that issue with Jackie, and again, it wasn't Jackie's fault. Jackie was mortified when she turned up and seen what had happened in the chalet, and that's, I think, one of the biggest issues we have is people, owners of caravans and chalets, are taking bookings in good faith, but the people who they are accepting are not necessarily the people who are turning up on the day.
I don't see I don't see how you can stop it though, because I know by me that there's private sublet caravans, and there was some trouble a couple of times in the one caravan last year. It wasn't the owner's fault, and when they came down afterwards to like sort it all out, and she's the one lady, she said, "Oh, there was 2 adults and 2 children." I said, "There wasn't." I said, there were about 6 adults in the caravan. There were about 6 adults plus like 2 children each in there. And she said, well, there shouldn't have been. She said, because they only booked for like 2 adults and 2 children. Unless you're there checking it, I can't see how you're going to do it. But equally, Thomas, yeah. we've gone somewhere and stopped somewhere, and I've said, we've had some friends visit, and we've like a couple of friends say, if you want to stop overnight, we've got the caravan, stop overnight with us.
The way you stop it is eventually, if you have a repeat offender, you remove their right to sublet, which we're allowed to do. Yeah. We've only done it on very, very rare occasions. I can probably count on one hand over the years the amount of times we've done it. But if we find that the owner is not being responsible, then there are sort of roads we can go down to try and. Obviously, we're not just going to go. That's it. We'd never sort of approach things in an autocratic way and say it's you've got to do it this way. We always work with the owner, but I just want to make it sort of absolutely crystal clear that I do think on some occasions the owners have to take more responsibility for the people who they're letting into their caravan, and that is one of the main issues we've had this season. And I'm not for 1 second suggesting that we don't get issues with people staying in our caravans, because we do. I'd be telling you lies if I said otherwise. It happens across the board, but like I said, generally speaking, we do get more issues with the sublets because of the occupancy issue.
Was that the end of the story about the 6 lads in the chalet, or was there any more to that?
Yeah, they left.
Nicola Davis says her van is 8 berth on the contract.
Yeah.
I meet and greet every renter and only rent to families. So are you saying that next year I will only be able to rent to 6 people? My regular has 5 kids and 2 adults, so how can I say to her, you have to pick a child not to come?
Well, I think you're taking it to the absolute extreme there. And like I said, we've not made a final decision. It's something that we are discussing. It may say 8 berth on the contract, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have the right to let it for to 8 persons. That's a rule that if we wanted to as a park, we could implement that rule. Okay, so we're not removing your right to sublet. All we're doing is restricting the amount of persons in the caravan. Now, if you're coming to us and saying, you've got a regular of 5 kids and 2 adults, then I would imagine that we would make an exception for that. But what I'm trying to say is, what we're not willing to keep making exceptions for are the people who, as far as they're concerned, are renting it to 2 or 3 people, and when they're getting 7 or 8 people turning up, that's what we've got to take action against. So, of course, there's always going to be anomalies, and and I'm not saying that they've got to pick a child. What I'm saying is, you've got to be, generally, owners have got to take more responsibility for their actions when it comes to subletting, and that's what we are discussing as a family. Do you want to stand up and put the light back on?
You have to do your end.
What is it?
It's your end. Just put 50p in the meter while we're there.
Where is it?
Just walk towards the door.
Jim, can we wish Ronnie and Mick a happy 50th golden wedding anniversary? So
is that today?
Yeah, Ronnie and Mick.
Congratulations, Ronnie and Mick.
50 years. 50 so happy anniversary, both.
And of course, the other thing as well is a lot of parks don't allow sublet.
Yeah.
So, and it's, again, I'm not against it. I think it's great. It's great to have a variety of people on the park, but it's just about taking that responsibility.
Yeah, that's quite. I mean, like you said, you've not made the decision yet, so I think we're going into water that we don't need to go into because we've got quite a few coming up about it now. So
I'm here now. I've got nothing else to do.
We have a 2-bed caravan, but it has a pull-out bed in the front room, so that's 6 people, and we was told to supply bedding for 6.
Yeah.
I'm confused with that one as well.
We have a 2 bed. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, with us, a 2-bed caravan is for 4 persons. We don't use the pull-out beds at the front.
What people seem to be overlooking is these unauthorised people turning up on a non-booked, and they're also not on the track and trace.
Yeah.
That's another thing as well. And Ian, you'll testify to and Jem, because you spend a lot of time in the reception. People again just turning up and not letting us know.
Yeah.
One thing I've got to say as well is, and I don't think it's an excuse, but we have some of the people come and we say to them, have you sent your emails off to track and trace? I'm 70. I don't do email. I don't agree with that.
I don't, to be honest with you. and I know it's easy as younger persons, exclude Ian from that there, for us to say that everybody should have access to emails. Look, if you're, you don't necessarily have to. You can't use age as an excuse for not having access to emails. I'm fortunate to have both my grandmas alive. My one grandma, she's 97, and she sits at home and she's got an iPad or tablet and she's on Facebook and she knows how to work Facebook. And she had that. We think we got an iPad, I think, for a 90th birthday, something like that. And she's worked out how to do it.
Well, the internet's been around for how many years? 30, 40? Emails have been around 30, 40 years.
I won't say 40 years, no.
It's possibly the 80s.
No.
I think it was late 80s that was the first email was sent.
No.
Should we find that out?
You
talk, I'll Google.
It definitely wouldn't be 40 years. It was Tim Berners-Lee, wasn't it, who invented the internet? I think it was Tim Berners-Lee. Yeah. And I would say, I'm going to put my neck on the line and say you're probably looking about 1990, maybe 91, but it wasn't until the mid-90s it became sort of like mainstream, if you like.
I've got a mate, he's in his 70s, 70, I don't know if he's 77 or, but he'll come up and he'll say, can you go on this website for me, or can you look at this for me, or can you send an email?
Does he live by you?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Does he say, yo, can you look at this for me, or does he say you?
No, he does, but...
come here, our kids, can you have a look at this for me? Go on.
The ASRPA net, the predecessor of the internet, was born in November 1969, making the internet 50 years old.
Yeah, but come on, that's like saying that you've been able to travel to the moon since the 1960s, but commercially we still can't do it yet. So it's a poor argument. You've got if you're gonna go along those lines, you've got to find out exactly when emails were made available for the general public to freely use. I think you'll find.
At that one. I'll look at when was the first email sent.
Yeah, and you'll probably find non-commercially, it probably was at some point in the 80s, but commercially, when the technology was freely and readily available, I'm going to say it was at some point in the early 90s.
Do you know when the first fax was sent?
No, I don't. You're probably going to say the 1950s.
It was earlier than that. It was sent between, I think it was 2 towns in France, and they were on pendulums with an electric current that burnt into a thing. But they had to get the 2 pendulums swinging in the 2 towns at exactly the same rate, so that the one replicated the other one that was sending, and it was like on a copper plate.
Yeah,
that was the first fax.
Susan Francis, can you take into account that people may have already took bookings for next year based on 6, as this is the max occupancy? Yeah, obviously all that will be taken into account. But like I said, we've not made a final decision yet.
Okay, ready for this?
Yeah, you're going to say 1971 was the first email sent.
Yeah.
But again, that wasn't done commercially. That was...
Oh, high horse, calm down. Calm down.
You know, when was it done? Sorry, not when was it made readily available? Not sort of between 2 sort of professors.
It must have been on one of them. What was them old computers that we used to have? What was the first computers that came out?
I was it the Amstrads?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. The guy made. Do you remember he made the 3-seater as well? What was his name?
Amstrad.
Sinclair.
Oh, Sinclair, of course.
Sinclair
computers.
Yeah, Sinclair.
I remember my Commodore 64.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Commodore 64.
I remember my mum picking me up from school early because she. Saying it was an emergency, and it wasn't because she got Ghostbusters on Commodore 64.
Brilliant.
I think that was the year you were born.
A what? Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and
I'm not. People might not have heard that at home because we've got a funny thing with your sound, haven't they? So it said late 80s, early 90s was the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably right, isn't it? Spectrum, ZX.
But my point was, it's been round. I know people in their 70s were in their 40s.
Yeah, it's been around long enough for people to embrace the technology.
I disagree. I still think there's lots of older people who don't have access to it, and you say okay, but they've got family who'll do it for them. But
yeah, exactly.
But unless they're living with their family and their family visiting regular, then they can't, can they? I know, but I know. Like,
yeah, but okay. okay, but those people, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here. Those people don't drive around in cars from the 1980s or 1990s. They update their car, and that car will have modern features on it. So
they don't use them. They don't. Thomas, you'll get in the car and you'll say, "Oh, can you Bluetooth? Can you...
Well done. Well done.
So do you Bluetooth?" And they go, "What's that?" He said, "Just put the radio on, press the button. That's the right." And I'm going, "Yeah, but you've got that. That just it. Oh, I don't mess about with that."
See, I can understand that sort of stuff when it comes to more the technology side of it. But when it comes down to a basic email, I mean, I'd say 90% of us now have all got smartphones.
Yeah.
Which has got your access there. So I just don't. But both my parents were in the 70s.
Yeah.
And, computer savvy to a degree. My dad especially was. My mum not so much, but...
Yeah, like my dad, my dad's managing director of Vale Holiday Parks, and he hasn't got an @valeholidayparks.com email address. So he's got like a personal email address, which if he gets an email come through, it'll get me and one of the boys and my mum to sort of help him out with it, Can
I tell you something really funny?
Yeah.
So I'm in the Vale office, and your dad came in with his phone in his hand, and he said, he said, there's something here. He said, "I want you to sort out for me." So he gave me his phone, and he went, "Can you send that to yourself?" And I went, "Right, okay." So I got your dad's phone. I went, "How do I do that?" so he took it off me and he gave it to Tori. He went, "Yeah, can you send that to him?" But only because I know how my phone works, but I think his was like an iPhone. Is your dad's iPhone?
He's got an iPhone, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know how iPhones work.
Should we go back to these pictures?
Yeah, let's go back to pictures.
So we saw that one.
Yeah. Next.
That was a great night. We had Eric Bristow came to Claret twice, the crafty Cockney. And great guy. I've never seen anybody drink as much as what he could put away. He was on the Guinness, and it was just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. That's got to be, that's got to be at least 15 years ago, maybe more.
I laugh at that, because I remember he came, and I think there were a couple of girls with him, and he got a free bar, and I remember he went to the bar. He didn't go to the bar. The girls went to the bar and they said, "Oh, we're with Eric. So can we have a pint for him?" So we had a pint for him. And they said, "And can we have a Baileys and something?" And they said to Carol, they said, "Yeah, can we have a triple Baileys?" And Carol says, "You'll have a single." It was so funny.
Our Sue, she played him?
Yeah, she did. She did. If you remember, Thomas, we had the board set up where like the kitchen is now.
No.
We had down the front, and we had them in there as well. It was like a big darts competition.
Oh yeah, but with the Eric Bristow, we had them set out on the dance floor, didn't we?
That's right, in front of the stage. Yeah,
in front of the stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have a look back, and producer Andy, have a look back. We can work out the year with this. Look back at all the Saturday, the 25th of September, and let me know what years in the last sort of 15, 20 years the 25th of September has fallen on a Saturday, and we'll be able to roughly work out what year it was.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, but he came back twice, didn't he? He came again, and I thought he was great. I thought he was ever such a nice guy.
God, somebody just look at that comment just coming there, Ian. One of the best singers you ever had there was Davy Chris.
I remember Davy Chris. Yeah, we were already
okay. So let's talk about singers in Claret Bay in the 90s. So we'll play a game. So I'll name a singer from the 90s at Claret Bay, and then you name one back. So I'll get the ball rolling with Sunny Day, Tart on Tour.
Cool.
Remember her?
No.
Don't remember Sunny Day, Tart on Tour?
Yeah, but sometimes if they're in the big room, we're in the little room, so we didn't see them. If they might have been on our night off.
Powis and Jones.
I remember Powis and Jones. Yeah.
And I bet we'll have a few comments coming for Powis and Jones. David and Andy.
Bang.
Yeah.
His guitar.
1993.
No, it wouldn't be 1993.
What was the guy?
Wouldn't be 93. That logo wasn't 1993.
Okay.
Oh, so he said Darry isn't well. He has MS. Oh.
Who was the guy from what's it, Brother Beyond?
Nathan Moore.
I remember Nathan Moore.
He came a couple of times, didn't he?
Yeah. Somebody, Carol Gardens put Darren Day. Yeah, remember Darren Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what? When Darren Day came, he was sort of. Well, I'm gonna be polite, and he was on his arse when he came to us.
Yeah, he's falling out of favour. Yeah.
He'd fallen out of favour, and we'd heard all these rumours about because he was, he had a bit of a reputation. I've got to say, Darren Day is one of the nicest people I've ever met. Nothing like the persona he has portrayed in the media. Really, really, really nice guy. And I'll tell you one of the. I could tell you some people I didn't like, who I met over the years, singers and that.
Well, I know one you told to get back in his car and get lost.
Which one was that?
Was
he a famous one?
No, he wasn't famous. He's still famous.
Oh yeah,
very recently.
Yeah, I told him to get. Yeah, he'd driven all the way from London, and let's just say that he had a bit of an attitude.
1999.
No, it wasn't. That's not our that logo. That Claret Bay logo is not a 1999 Claret Bay logo.
It's got to be the 2000s then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's about 15 to 20 years ago.
Bands as well, Thomas. We've had some great bands.
We've had some brilliant bands. Like I said,
Swinging Blue Jeans.
Swinging Blue Jeans were good. The Ivy League, absolutely fantastic.
Herman's Hermits.
Herman's Hermits. I'll never forget Herman's Hermits. 2004. There you go. That was 2004. Yeah. Herman's Hermits, brilliant. I remember the drummer Barry. His name's Bean. He showed me a picture of him on a beach with Elvis. He went, "Yeah, look at that. It was him and Elvis." And they became friends. I'm trying to think who else. The one I didn't like, and he was I apologise if everybody's seen him before and they like him, was Mike Pender's Searchers. That was that got very heated backstage, shall we say?
We've had a different question come up.
Okay.
On a different subject, we're adopting 4 small children. She's put this twice, that's why it reminded me. No. We're adopting small 4 children and own a caravan on Claret Bay. Would it be possible to put toddler swings on the big playground, please?
I don't know, is the honest answer. I will make a note, and I will. What's the lady's name?
Barbara Kirkpatrick.
Okay, yeah. If we can, we will. But I can't really give an answer to that now, unfortunately.
Okay, so should we go to the next picture?
Yeah, Glenn Leon, many years ago. Glenn, I tell you what, yeah. Glenn Leon, the Soul Survivors.
Yeah.
Soul Survivors.
Sue Hudd saying about a comedian from Blackpool who was escorted from the stage.
Who was that?
Oh, wasn't Albie Senior, was it? Was it Albie Senior, Sue?
I don't know.
It could have been Albie Senior or Bernadette.
I remember there was one. We pulled one off.
Sorry. Don't start giving me into your sordid stories.
Since I've been here, there's only one act we've actually brought on stage early.
Yeah, I remember that as well.
Yes, that was very interesting night.
Yeah,
very interesting night. Next picture. Let's have a look.
Yeah. So that was before your time.
Mm-hmm.
So Tom's, it doesn't refer to me, it refers to my grandfather, Tom Barker. So it was around about the time, I seem to think there was like a remake of Charlie's Angels. So like Carol and the girls put a show together called Charlie's Angels, and then the boys in the entertainment team wanted to get involved in it, so we called it Tom's Angels and Devils. So there you go. Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah, yes, here he is. Originally from Blacklace.
Immaculate. I mean, you look at him. He's immaculate, isn't he?
I'll tell you what, a genuinely nice guy.
Really was.
Yeah.
Been attacked by a fly.
Oh, look at that! Somebody's put there. Alan Jones.
Yeah.
Doing the Phantom. Alan Sings. Remember Alan Sings, Ian?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
100 Nod Wells. Alan Sings.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was the guy as well? Somebody Diamond.
Alan Diamond.
Alan Diamond. Yeah, Alan Diamond.
Yeah. Yeah, Alan Diamond from he's Welsh, from Swansea area, but he's brilliant. Great. He was a lounge bar singer. It was like him and Ian Lockyer in the lounge bar.
Yeah.
And Brian T. Williams, BT Williams, the one-man band.
Oh, I'll tell you somebody else as well. I'll give you the clue.
Yeah.
We want more. We want more.
Oh, Mickey John Bull.
Yeah.
Do you know what? If ever you get a chance, if you ever, when things go back to normal, if ever you want just a fun night out with your family, and you happen to see Mickey John Bull's advertised, go and see him, because he's just. I can't describe what he does. I don't know what he does, and we're sat there going, "What is he doing?" But at the end of it, he's got everybody going, "We want more."
Yeah.
But I think, I think with comedians, if you talk about comedians, I think the accent is a big help with comedians. I think that's why, you look at Geordies. I think Geordies are naturally funny people because of the way they can tell a story with their accent. I think Scousers are naturally funny. And also Mickey John Bull's from Bristol. He's got that Bristolian accent, which lends itself very well to comedy. And he's brilliant. He's absolutely fantastic.
Well, Carol Gardner's asked next year, can we have a comedy night and invite Ricky Tomlinson up to Clarick?
I don't think Ricky would come, to be honest with you, because what a lot of people don't realise with Ricky owns a caravan in North Wales at Park Farm. Ricky's in his 80s. He's as fit as a fiddle, but he's in his 80s and he is still a very, very, very busy person. He's got loads of projects on the go. He does a lot of writing. He comes to his caravan in Park Farm and he does a lot of his writing at his caravan in Park Farm. And he doesn't really sort of venture that far from the area where he lives unless he's sort of like filming or doing something along those lines. But I'll ask him if he'll come, but I wouldn't. I would doubt it because of the distance involved.
I'm not sure who she's on about.
Yeah.
But our Sue's saw him a couple of years ago and still not washed that chicken.
Mickey John Bull.
Mickey John Bull.
Okay.
Mickey John Bull. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I tell you another one. Johnny Roberts and Tommy Trouble.
Oh yeah.
Now I think we mentioned this before. A lot of these acts, especially the comedians, they were absolutely fantastic, and they'd have the place in absolute stitches. If you was to go and get them in their prime and stick them on the stage now in front of an audience, we'd get complaints left, right, and centre, because you look at this term political correctness. Mm-hmm. There were things which were not at all politically correct about their act, but at the time it was appropriate at the time, but it would be deemed to be completely inappropriate now in 2020. And I think Johnny Roberts and Tommy Trouble fall into that category. And I can think now, I can a lot of these acts, I remember their act almost word for word, and yeah.
Two unrelated questions.
Okay.
First one, evening all, totally random question. Will you be doing the Halloween decorated caravan competition this year? As I need to stock up on cobwebs if you are.
I don't know. Possibly, because it can be. It's a good social distancing thing. So yeah, we'll let you know next week.
Yeah.
We'll try and arrange that and try and do it across all the parts, because obviously we can do it on here.
Yeah.
Do the show the pictures on here. And second one, Clarick Chalet asks, will you be doing any more videos like "Is this the way to Clarick Bay"?
No.
Oh.
I won't. No.
Oh, we enjoyed that, didn't we? It was good.
It was a good laugh.
In fact, can you still get those on YouTube?
No.
I put a stop to that, didn't it? No.
Not enough comedy shows. And let me tell you why. So somebody's put not enough comedy shows at Ocean Heights. There's a very good reason why we don't put comedy on anymore. This goes. So again, let's take a trip back to the 80s and 90s. So I think back then it was a lot easier to keep order in a room. I think one of the most challenging things. So for example, if me and Jem sat down now and we had to put a show together, the show that me and Jem and Ian, if the three of us sat down and said, like, let's put a show on now and let's make it an absolutely fantastic show, we'd write out what we see as being a really good show. We'd put all the songs in place and get all the costumes and everything, and then we'd sit down and we'd go, do you know what? This is an absolutely amazing, fantastic show, but there's no way the audience are going to keep quiet for 45 minutes, and it's just going to completely spoil it.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes, or a lot of the time, we can't do the things that we would like to produce and perform, and we can't put comedians on because nobody now wants to just be quiet for 45, 50 minutes while there's an act on. I mean, we could give you, as an entertainment team, we could give you so much more. You know, there's so much more we could do, and you'd get to see these guys' true talent then. But at the moment, it's difficult because we can't keep order, can we, Jem?
Nope.
Which is why at Park Farm, we'll put on every so often. Ricky does it for us at Park Farm. He'll put on an afternoon, a Sunday afternoon, and it's adults only. And it's sort of like a variety performance, a 3-4 hour variety show where you've got 5 or 6 acts. There's normally sort of 4 singers and 2 comedians, and it works really well. But the problem is, you look at Ocean Nights. Ocean Nights lends itself very well in terms of the shape and size of the room to a comedian, because it's not too big, it's not too small. The shape of the room, the comedian on the stage can sort of see everybody. And if you speak to any comedian, what they'll tell you, especially ones that work the circuit, is they find, even if it's a clean comedian, even if it's somebody that's not suggestive, they don't swear and they're not really blue. A prime example, John Martin, one of the best comedians of his generation. John Martin, very clever. A lot of people may not have heard of him, but you do certainly know the people who he writes for. He will not work in a venue with his children because he just finds it puts a barrier there, and that's the thing. So then you ask people then before the show, do you mind just keeping the best of order, please? And it gets to a point, and you go to them throughout the show. Do you mind just keeping it quiet? And then you get into the point, look, you're gonna have to leave now, and then it all escalates.
And it's we've tried it here at Clarick as well, where we've done an adult only night in the Tom Barker Lounge to have that. But then we get the complaints about the people that, because we can't let the children in, so they're not allowed.
It's difficult. Back in the 80s, back in the 90s, Des Ford, our resident, compare, he'd be on there, he'd have his tuxedo on, and I don't know what it was, whether it's a generational thing, whether people back in that time, they could keep their kids under better control than the parents of today. I don't know, but you could, for the 45, 50 minutes, you could hear a pin drop in that room. The only voice you would hear was the voice of the artist. Do you know what? We would even stop the glass collectors from going around because the noise of that picking the glasses up would be off-putting. That's how quiet the room was. Yeah. And all of that just seems to have vanished, gone.
I think the club room, the main room at Clarick, I think that's terrible for comedy now. I've seen real good comedians and they've died of death there.
They have died, yeah. If it's, I think the shape again, a lot of it is to do, like you said. You look at a room and you think, well, this room lends itself well to this type of act, and the main room in Clarick, I think one of the big problems is the stage is set quite a way back from where the audience is. So if you're a comedian, comedians in sort of like clubland, if you like, they need to be close to the audience. They can feed off the audience. So
you're on about Johnny Martin. He used to come and get on a table at the front.
I'm about to say that.
Yeah.
Or he'd stand in the middle of the room. He'd get on a table, stand in the middle of the room. He'd be surrounded, and he'd just be there, not picking on people, but having conversations with people. He'd have the audience eating out the palm of their hand.
Yeah.
Powers and Jones would do well because they had the explosions, they had the visual side of it, and you could get away if the room was a little bit noisier than what it should be. But if you want to sort of listen to a real sort of clever comedian, telling very sort of clever jokes, then you've got to be able to have that order. And the same as well, if you're putting on a West End show,
which we just can't do anymore.
Yeah, and you want to sing "Bring Him Home" from Les Mis, you're wasting your time, effort, and energy doing it because you're not going to get the order in the room. No. And then you get somebody then walking straight across the front of the stage
to go to the toilet.
Kids running about with guns.
Yeah.
Toy guns.
Toy guns. Yeah, toy guns.
Sue's put the lounge bar as ideal for comedy.
It's not, because there's kids in there. Look, when I was a kid growing up here, I wasn't allowed in that lounge bar. And then it got changed. If it was down to me and it was my decision only, it's not. I've got outvoted on this. I personally wouldn't allow children in the lounge bar, because I do think there is definitely a space where there is a demand for a space for adults can go and have a nice, quiet, relaxing drink in the company of other adults and not have kids running around. I think that's what the main room's for. And people are going to go, oh, you meant to be a family-run party. And my answer to it is always the same. Well, families don't necessarily mean children. Families can be like, you look at you, Andy, and Andy's parents. If you go out, you go on holiday together, the four of you, you're a family.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Sue Francis just said it doesn't have to be blue, but it's not even a case of the comedian being
we
blue.
would,
they're just not comfortable.
No, that's the thing. We wouldn't. We even if we had a room full of adults, we wouldn't put a blue comedian on. It's not appropriate. It's not right. We have done it in the past, and we've learned a very harsh lesson from it. It's just having that order. That's all they want, is just order, but you can't do it.
Well, we can't entertain it all at the minute.
And that's the other thing as well you're up against, them things.
Yeah. I think they should be illegal for anybody under the age of 18.
Yeah. That's why the stage in, what was it saying? Was perfect for Aquarius during the kids' club. For us who are in our 40s and big, yeah. Mm.
Yep.
Well.
He's like that. No.
Yeah. Why not open the pub on the front for adults only? The Heart of the Bay. Ow. Watch your space. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's just leave that there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that Heart of the Bay, that'd be good. You could open that as a gay club on the front, couldn't you?
I tell you what, we'll have enough people going in there. Just with staff.
Yeah. No problem. No, we had a question earlier on in the evening from Dean Walters asking if there was going to be any entertainment on here tonight, and I'll let you explain that one.
I don't know what the answer is, mate.
Well, for the foreseeable future.
Oh, okay, yeah, got it, yeah.
Go on,
no, you carry on.
So for the foreseeable future, we are going to use this platform just for this sort of thing, where we'll have a chat and give any of the updates that are on. So keep your eye on YouTube, Facebook, etc. when they're going to be on. When we've gone past the half term from October, then we're going to go back into doing our nights with entertainment, etc.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
Ian, I remember speaking to you before, and you saying you may somewhere, because I'd love people to be able to hear him, have a recording of Des Ford singing.
I have, but because we're in such a mess, we've got stuff everywhere. I've got a tape, a cassette somewhere of him. Yeah, I have.
Has your nan got one? Your grandma, sorry.
Do you know what? If she has, she wouldn't have a clue where she's put it.
I seem to remember her getting it put on CD for some reason.
Are you sure it was not Emil Ford?
I will. I'll have a look for that, Thomas. I'll have a look for it.
Yeah.
It's I've got the Aquarius cassettes in this bag as well.
Have you? You're still trying to flog them after all these years. Right?
They were great. They were great stuff.
See, so Lynn and Jane are mentioning about the Heart of the Bay was open when we first ever came to Clout. Well, before it was the Heart of the Bay, it was Paddy's Bar.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was Paddy's Beach Bar. When I was a little kid, that's what it was. Yeah.
I could never understand, because there'd be people coming back to the caravans round by us, and it'd be like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I used to say, well, where have they been? Where have they been till this time of the morning? And it was down here at Paddy's Bar.
Well, what they used to have about back in the day, you'd have Paddy's Bar straight in front of me there. Yeah. Where the bowling alley is at Glenamore, that used to be called the Atlantis Disco. It was like an 18 to 30s like nightclub on Glenamore. I used to sneak in there when I was about 12 or 13, because I always looked older than what I was. Drinking Baby Sham. Yeah, I thought I was so cool because I drink Baby Sham. Yeah.
Sorry, I've just read that comment. Manda Jackson says,
what?
Jack says, Dick at Claret would be great on the stage.
Yeah.
We're talking about Dick
right, so
doing all the...
Right, so let me tell you. So I know. So just for you to know, Amanda is Arsu. That's Arsu's daughter.
Right.
Right. So Manda and Sue both used to work in the reception.
Yeah.
So when Manda worked in the reception, we all know Dick, who, yeah, you know him very well, don't you? But not as well as Ian does. So we all know Dick, who works on the park.
Yeah.
Our Dick. Well, when Dick first came to Claret, I was 6 years of age. Okay, he's been here like nearly 40 now. He's been here a long time, and he came with his cousin Jack, and Jack saw Stents early on and thought, I'm not staying here for the rest of my life. And he sort of moved on, met Amanda, and they've got a family. They've been together ever since. But Dick's still here.
Jack was there when I first came.
There's Dick, Jack, Terry.
Yeah.
Remember Terry?
Who was the one that drove the car into the river?
Oh, that was Jack. Hang on, Jack, was that you? I'm sure that was Jack that drove the car in the river.
I think it was as well.
I think it was Jack. Yeah. My mum's driven the car in the river as well. Yeah, my mum's put the car on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Jack that put the car in the river.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Jacqueline Hughes has got a question.
Okay.
How come clubs in Britain can have entertainment but Wales can't?
I don't know. Ask Boris and ask Mark Drakeford. We don't know. We just don't know. We don't know, Jacqueline. Sorry.
When I worked at Warner's,
you gonna pee yourself?
I'm absolutely bursting for the toilet.
When I
do you want to go and have a wee then? Yes. I'll hold the fort.
I was going to offer a toll then.
When I worked at Warner's the other week at Studley, the bass player there, he's in the resident band, and they work 6 nights a week at Warner's. I mean, obviously it's changed again.
Look, this goes back to what I said at the beginning of the show, where we need to have. What do you want? What do you want? A mask? Oh.
You're like a married couple, you two, aren't you? What you want? Have you left your bag? Yeah, I'll have your bag. Take your bag with you.
He's getting his mask on. It's like I said at the beginning of the show. We just need to have a one-size-fits-all rule book for the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. It's not going to undermine devolution. It's not going to undermine what the devolved governments are trying to do. It will make things a lot easier than the situation that we're in now. But I'm not a politician, so what do I know?
Do you have to wear a mask to have a poo then?
It depends. If you're going to have a poo in the middle of the aisle of Tesco's, then yes, legally you do. Or any other public place. But other than that, no, I think you can take it off, mate.
Oh dear.
We are getting a lot of people as well, sort of getting wise to the fact that they tell us that they're medically exempt from wearing a mask, and unfortunately, the law is on their side. And I say unfortunately, and I'm not trying to say it negative against the people that have genuine reasons for not wearing a mask, because there are those people out there. But the impression I get is of the people who I've encountered so far, and there's been a few of them who have said they don't have to wear a mask. And I know, before I get shot down in flames, there are people with hidden sort of disabilities and that. I do get the impression that there are some people who are just using it as an excuse for not wanting to put a mask on.
And I could understand, I mean, we've all, like, when I've got a mask on, if you're just sitting there, that's fair enough. If you're walking or you're picking something up and you're breathing a little bit heavier, sometimes it is difficult to breathe with a mask on. But I do wonder, if it is that perhaps because you've got asthma or perhaps you've got something that you can't wear a mask, why can't you wear a visor?
If I had to categorise the two main reasons that we're being told by customers for not wearing a mask, I would say the main reason that people are giving us mental health issues.
Okay. Now,
as a venue, we can't respond to that. Who are we to question if the person has got mental health issues or not, or whether they should wear it? We can't.
But you see, I don't see how mental health stops you wearing a mask.
I don't, but I'm not an expert on mental health. I just don't. All we're asking people to do in the licensed venues is put the mask on to walk from the entrance to your table and back on again when you go from your table to leave, and if you go to the toilet or the cigarette area. Yeah. But And again, I think this is an area where the government need to look at it, because as a licensed venue, we have got the right to refuse entry without giving a reason. So the doorman, not that they would, but they could say, "I'm sorry, you're not coming in. Why can't you let us in?" Well, we don't have to tell you. We're just not letting you in. But it's getting to the point now where there are some people you think to yourself, well, surely keeping the majority safe.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I've bored everybody enough for tonight. I'm gonna.
No, so just checking. Then I think we lost some people for a second, but they're back now. It said 0 there, but okay.
So we got there. I suffer
from claustrophobia. So anything over my mouth, I have panic attacks, but I do wear a visor for short periods.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I mean, if you suffer from claustrophobia, I would say that is a very good reason for not wanting to wear a mask. I know, for example, you're probably there, and if you suffer from claustrophobia, I know people who are claustrophobic. The idea of them having, say, an MRI scan going into that tunnel is all of their worst nightmares coming true at once. Me, it doesn't bother me at all. But if a bird flew into this room now,
I was just about to say that.
I would seriously. I'm scared of birds.
Mm-hmm.
The little ones. Don't mind the big ones, but the little ones, the little flappy ones. Oh no.
One came reception the other day.
Yeah, you missed that.
No.
Luckily, I missed it as well because I'm not great with them.
He didn't. I tell you what, he didn't miss the window when he flew into it.
Did he fly into the window?
When he came in and he's flying around the office and tried to get out and flew into, the glass partition on Phil's office.
Yeah.
Flew into that.
It's normally Jem that's flapping, isn't it, in the office? But
only when you're around. I think that's it now.
Is that it?
I think so.
Right, well, I'm going to go.
Well, keep your eye on Facebook for when we're back.
Yeah. I think we'll do like a Saturday and we'll just come and give a little update unless something happens in between and they drop a bombshell.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Lynn's just said, annoys me. She could be exempt, but chooses not to be.
Well, look,
wears a mask for mine.
Let me give you an example, okay? If you go onto TripAdvisor, if you look at the latest review for Claret Bay on TripAdvisor, you will see that a couple from a couple of nights ago have posted a review about their experience, which only gives one side of the story, And we had this thing with this couple refusing to wear a mask, and they was verbally very, very aggressive, and the security called me to go up there, which I went up there, and it's all recorded. I'm not going to release the CC, but we've got the images of it, and we've got the cameras, thankfully, record the audio as well. And perhaps what I said was out of turn, but I said to the guy, so the guy is refusing to wear a mask because he has mental health issues, okay? But at the same time, he was being definitely being verbally aggressive, but also he had very aggressive body language. So I said to him, I said, well, look, I think for tonight, it's probably best you don't come in tonight because you're being verbally aggressive to the door staff, and your body language is also quite aggressive as well. And he went, well, that's my mental health that's causing me to do that. So I said, well, with the greatest of respect to you, sir, unfortunately, if that's how your mental health causes you to act, then we as a venue are unable to accommodate your needs. Which I think, people out there, correct me if I'm wrong, if you think that was wrong what I said. So then to which he's turned round, walked away and gone, F you, at the top of his voice. So I sort of felt justified then in not letting him in, Yeah. So then when you read the review he's put on TripAdvisor, I mean, it's quite well worded, and you'd say, well, this is quite an intelligent guy that's written this review. But it's only one side of the story, and that's an example of what we're up against.
Yeah.
How did he know your name was FU?
There you go.
So, like we said, tune into Facebook to find out when our next one is, if it's not before next Saturday. If not, we shall see you then. Stay safe all, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye both.